Dobrý den, v tomto krátkém filmu vám představíme pravý tvar naší země.
Water, when unmanipulated, is to find its level. So whether you look at a cup of water, a bathtub, a swimming pool, a lake, or the ocean, it's flat. Of course, natural motion is not considered and doesn't equal a curve. We have zero authentic pictures of the Earth and they're all composites, and NASA even admits that they Photoshop Earth images.
It is Photoshop, but it has to be.
On numerous occasions, NASA admits that we can't go beyond low Earth orbit, which is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The interesting thing is that the moon is said to be 238,000 miles away, which is a difference of 236,800 miles. No matter if you're on the ground, on top of a building, a mountain, a hot air balloon, an airplane, or looking at high-altitude amateur balloon footage, the horizon never fails to rise right to your eyes. Whether you are looking at Toronto's skyline from Niagara on the lake, 31 miles away, Chicago's skyline from Union Pier, 43 miles away, or even Oahu from Kauai, which is up to 108 miles away from center to center, or 73 miles away from the closest points. You will not see any curvature where it's supposed to be. According to the Pythagorean theorem, which states that the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared, Oahu should not be visible whatsoever, but you can see the whole thing. In 1887, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley conducted what's known as the Michelson-Morley experiment. This experiment was attempting to prove the speculated motion of the Earth around the Sun, and when it failed, Albert Einstein was forced to form the theory of relativity to overcome this problem. In fact, anytime mainstream science is faced with undesirable results, they create a workaround, which isn't real science at all. The Sun is claimed to be 93 million miles away, with a radius of over 400,000 miles, but can easily be proven to be much closer and smaller by tracing the crepuscular rays back to its origin in the sky. If the Sun were indeed 93 million miles away, it would simply be impossible to have angled sun rays, as they should all consistently come in straight. According to the globular theory, a lunar eclipse occurs when the Sun, Earth, and Moon are in a direct line. But it is on record that since about the 15th century, over 50 eclipses have occurred while both the Sun and Moon are visible above the horizon. F.H. Cook, The Terrestrial Plane. It's a common misconception that the shadow of the Earth causes moon phases. Even the pastors and priests of the science religion readily admit this fact. The interesting thing about moon phases is that they are always the exact same 8 phases repeated. But if we were circling around the Sun, these 8 phases would inevitably be reversed from the summer to winter seasons. I completely understand that the idea of a flattened stationary Earth seems ridiculous in many ways, but that's only because we are taught the false globe model from the very first time that we enter a school classroom. Not to mention the first time we are introduced to the concept of a flat Earth, it's depicted as a highly laughable world where ships, boats, and water would run off to the edge. So I do get it, but it's all part of the deception. I've spent 30 years of my life believing that we were on a spinning globe. It wasn't until I unbiasedly and scientifically investigated the flat Earth claims that I started to realize that there is more to this theory than I originally gave it credit for. Now, after almost 2 years of research, I'm certain that the Earth is flat. We are told that the Earth spins at 1,040 miles per hour, while the Earth travels around the Sun at 66,000 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the whole solar system is going inside the Milky Way galaxy at a speed of 490,000 miles per hour. And finally, the entire Milky Way galaxy is darting through infinite space at over 1 million miles per hour. Most people believe this, and yet every experiment ever conducted to prove even the simple spin of the Earth has failed. The same thing goes for curvature. It's never been proven, and the only time we see it is in movies, NASA CGI, or when we're looking through a distorted fisheye lens. With all that said, please continue to research critically and don't be afraid to ask reasonable questions and speak out.
A new concept has arisen: the true form of the Earth. The WLC team has studied no other truth that, at first glance, so obviously flew in the face of accepted scientific fact. The theory, the world is a globe revolving around the sun, has been accepted for so long it is now widely accepted as fact. Research has revealed the Earth is, in reality, not a globe spinning through endless realms of space. Neither spherical, as taught for 500 years, nor able to be fallen from the edges, the flat Earth is exactly as the ancients have taught through Scripture, a fixed mass of land and seas enclosed by a protective dome. Cultures the world over throughout history have all described and reported the existence of a geocentric, stationary, flat Earth. Egyptians, Indians, Mayans, Chinese, Native Americans, and literally every ancient civilization on Earth had a geocentric, flat Earth cosmology. Before Pythagoras, the idea of a spinning ball Earth was non-existent. And even after Pythagoras, it remained an obscure minority view until 2,000 years later, when Copernicus began reviving the heliocentric theory. Yahuwah is the creator. He works within his own laws of science. Just as Scripture teaches, science, astronomy, and applied mathematics support a fixed Earth enclosed by a dome. The word of the Almighty is sufficient evidence to support any belief or doctrine. Thus, even if the laws of science did not support this truth, WLC would embrace it. With this new understanding of the Earth's true layout, more light has been shed on prophecy. Scripture foretold, "Thou must prophesy again," Revelation 10:11. An enclosed Earth gives the complete and final fulfillment of the three angels' messages as the world is called upon to 1. First angel's message: worship the Creator. 2. Second angel's message: as this truth spreads, the various religious organizations that constitute Babylon will, without exception, reject this glorious truth. Thus, the second angel's warning of the fall of Babylon will reach its ultimate fulfillment. 3. Third angel's message: all who stand for this truth will face persecution, as foretold by the third angel, when the Pope is made the leader of the new one-world religion, teaching a globe Earth encircling the sun. For millennia, well-educated people believed the Earth was flat and placed at the center of the universe, enclosed there with a protective covering. In the early 16th century, Nikolai Copernicus introduced a different model of the universe in which the sun lay at the center and the Earth revolved around it. Copernicus' heliocentric model is taught today, while the earlier geocentric model has been utterly rejected. Less than 100 years later, Galileo was persecuted by the Catholic Church for promoting Copernicus' theory and forced to recant his beliefs and spend the last years of his life under house arrest. Galileo's persecution for promoting heliocentrism is surprising, as the Catholic Church initially supported Copernicus' theories. Consider the following facts. 1. While some sources claim Copernicus never took the vows of a priest, he was a cleric and never married. Furthermore, the fact that in 1537 King Sigismund of Poland put his name on the list of 4 candidates for the vacant episcopal seat of Ermland makes it probable that, at least in later life, he had entered the priesthood. When Pope Paul III sought Copernicus for advice on how to reform the calendar, Copernicus at first demurred to answer. Later, he wrote a series of letters to the Pope containing accurate observations that actually served 70 years later as a basis for the working out of the Gregorian calendar. 3. For a long time, Copernicus refused to publish his beliefs on a heliocentric universe. Finally, in 1531, he published a brief abstract stating his theory in 7 axioms. From this, the concept spread rapidly. 4. 2 years later, Albert Windmanstedt lectured on the Copernican model before Pope Clement VII, an action for which he was richly rewarded. 5. In 1536, Cardinal Schönberg, who was Archbishop of Capua, urged Copernicus to fully publish his theory, or at the least have a copy made at the cardinal's expense. 6. Between 1539 and 1541, Copernicus published and distributed a 66-page letter and a preliminary chapter. 7. Copernicus explained in a letter to Pope Paul III that he finally yielded to the insistent urging of Cardinal Schönberg, Bishop Gies of Culm, and other knowledgeable men, and agreed to publish his manuscript. Copernicus' theory of a heliocentric universe was well known at the upper strata of the Catholic Church in his lifetime. While he preferred his theories published after his death, he ultimately agreed to publish his manuscripts on the persistent appeals of high church officials. Catholics were not first to reject Copernicus' views, for they themselves admit opposition was first raised against the Copernican system by Protestant theologians for biblical reasons. The Catholic Church advanced Copernicus' heliocentric model, constantly urging him to spread it abroad, together with other theories that opposed the sacred scriptures. The necessity to change public conception from an accurate belief in a flat, enclosed earth to a false belief grew slowly. With sapient baby steps, the whole world would become amenable to the final delusion of an alien invasion under the first woe. The Catholic hierarchy had the perfect opportunity to lay groundwork for a global deception to culminate in this Earth's final generation. This deception required a globe Earth spinning throughout the vast reaches of space inhabited by aliens and other sentient life forms. These contrivances created doubt in the Bible, putting science ahead of Scripture, which advises mankind the earth is enclosed and unmoving. They also place the Creator far away from His creation by presenting a universe unimaginably vast.